What's up, and welcome to another episode of Black in the Maritimes. I'm Fidel,
I'm Marcus.
I'm Clinton.
and Hillary's not with us today because she's tired. So hopefully Hillary can get some rest. But we have a guest today.
No,
We
no.
got
Hang on. Hillary's not tired. Hillary's worked to the bone. That is what is going on. This girl has been working 12, 17-hour days, working like nonstop. Like she's supposed to be working like straight 8.5 hours. No, this girl's working till midnight, 2, 3 in the morning.
which means she's tired. Anyways,
Explain it better. Explain it better,
getting
man.
some sleep, Hillary. So, we got Husoni Raymond on the show. He is part of the New Brunswick Multicultural Association. These are the people that are doing a survey about racism in New Brunswick. Welcome to the show, Husoni.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you. Like, where did you grow up? How did you get to New Brunswick? How's your life been like?
Yeah, I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica. So I've lived there for all my life. And then when it came on to going to university, I was probably going to be going to university in Jamaica. One day I already got accepted. And one of my friends asked if I'd follow them to a Canadian college fair. And that's where I found St. Thomas University and their emphasis on social justice and social inclusion, which was something I was doing a lot of work on while I was in Jamaica, like organizing against gender-based violence and police brutality and youth empowerment kind of work. And I thought this was an opportunity to learn more in a social justice-oriented institution. So I packed my bags and got accepted, and I told my mom I was going to go to Canada, even though I had no family, no friends. And I moved here kind of disappointed when the captain was like, oh, we're about to land. And I looked through the window of the plane and I didn't see skyscrapers because I was expecting the capital city of Fredericton. So I was like, Toronto, like, a developed country, big buildings. And I came down, I landed, and I was like, where's the skyscrapers and stuff? But I really liked Fredericton. I'm not sad about it at all. It turned out to be, not too big, like a good sized city for someone new moving here. But one thing that I did experience on campus is racism. During my first year, some of the first comments that I heard, people saying, oh, I was expecting you to be more gangster, or, oh, you don't sound like the regular Black people, or someone telling me if I wanted to get good grades on a paper, I should not write like a Black person, like all of those interactions and stuff on campus. And then there was no acknowledgement for Black History Month after my first year. So I raised some concerns about that. And a lot of ignorance on campus. A lot of people weren't aware of the history, et cetera. And then the subsequent years, I organized Black History Month events for my university and doing fundraising. And the first panel was called Being Black in Canada, because a lot of people were the experiences of racism. Like I talk about racism, people would be like, what? Like that doesn't happen here. So that was the theme of the first panel I organized, because I wanted people to know what the experiences of Black people are. Brought in speakers from Toronto, Black Lives Matter Toronto, Winnipeg and stuff. So yeah, it's just been my passion to do this work, Black liberation, Black empowerment, and bringing awareness to the issue and finding solutions that we can address it.
So walk us back. Like when you were in Jamaica, you said that there was a discrimination and police brutality. How is that in Jamaica? Like how is the scenario like?
Yeah, so it's mostly, obviously, so Jamaica is a predominantly Black country because a majority of the population are descendants of slaves. The indigenous people of Jamaica all died during colonization. So while it was a predominantly Black country, you still had the legacy of colonialism and white supremacy through internalized racism. And even though Black people were the majority, they were still being oppressed in like this racial hierarchy where most of the upper class people were still light-skinned or white people. And then you had what's known as colorism, where, you know, the darker you are is the uglier you'd be insulted more, you'd be kind of marginalized more. So you still had the same system of white supremacy. And I think that's something that people don't recognize, is that white supremacy is not something regional or unique to just Fredericton or Canada. It's a global structure because of the legacy of colonialism and the impact that has. So while I wasn't as aware of what was going on, I knew that these structures existed. And my grandfather was actually a Rastafarian, which Rastafarianism was birthed out of kind of an opposition to white supremacy and kind of Eurocentric religion. So I really, from a young age, kind of learned that, you know, rebelling and resistance, you know, Black people know resistance, and that's the kind of environment I grew up in. So resisting inequality, resisting against things that, you know, aren't right. So growing up in a lower class neighborhood, I'd see, you know, gender-based violence around me. I'd see, you know, the impact of being from a lower class background. A lot of people not feeling empowered, a lot of people resorting to, you know, alternative economies to make a living. So I wanted to do something about that. So I got involved in my community youth group. I did human rights trainings with the organization UNICEF. I became like kind of involved in youth leadership. And through that, I kind of became the president of our local youth group. And I do like workshops, like a lot of social skills that a lot of people don't learn, that, you know, you take for granted, like how to eat with a knife and fork. Like, what's that? You know, like you don't recognize a lot of the skills that a lot of people don't have because of that class barrier. So I tried to work on that, but also I was able to get through that organization grant funding to address some of the issues that I was seeing in my community. And police brutality was also one of those, because police is a weapon of the state. And a lot of times when it comes on to lower class people, police were always, you know, abusing their power with lower class people because they didn't have the same resources or smarts that they get the same respect. You know, like police would just walk into people's yards and do whatever they wanted with innocent Black youth. So that was also a problem, that people didn't know their rights and that wasn't okay, you know. So I organized workshops around, you know, knowing your rights as a citizen and what police can and can't do. So that's kind of the context of my involvement when I was in Jamaica.
What it's kind of, I mean, I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, and I've been to the islands, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, Jamaica, those places. Before I let Marcus in, one of the things that you kind of pointed through was that is that if you go to places like Haiti, Dominica, Trinidad and Tobago, there's like a small type of white people. There's like they're probably 1% in some places. But they managed to have a social inequality or upper status in those places, which is kind of like and that's still part of colonialism to this day. Like when you say, when there's a Black majority country, there's like 95% Black, and you see like the other 2-3% are Asian or different or other, and there's like a 1% white, and they're in better jobs or better economic positions than the 90% of the majority, not because of their skill level. And that's the thing. Not because of the skill level or because of the education. It's because of the generational path that they earned through colonialism. So
like it's the legacy that left behind, because a lot of these people are descendants of former slave owners, so they didn't relinquish rights to the property and wealth that they gained throughout slavery. They still maintain that. In fact, throughout the British Commonwealth, when slavery was abolished, it was the planters that were the slave owners that were compensated for the loss of property, and the Black people who were being exploited for centuries got nothing. So those people still have that generational wealth, and also the privilege that comes with white supremacy in these countries. Like the color of your skin, you're just more respected. People see you. You know, Bob Marley talks about emancipating yourself from mental slavery. Like a lot of people are still suffering from the mental trauma that's been passed down from slavery. Like even growing up, you'd hear Black people telling their kids, like, stay out of the sun because you don't want to get darker. You know, these are the legacies of slavery, because our ancestors were degraded and told their skin color was inferior. And that's something that people have internalized and still kind of perpetuate that on their children, even beauty standards to this day. So yeah, it's a very, very real thing that happens in these countries. And people often think that, you know, there can't be racism in predominantly Black countries because it's like predominantly Black people. But again, it's there because of the legacy that colonialism and slavery has left behind in these nations.
I'll give you an example. So my father's from Trinidad. I went there for from like 16, 17, and 18. I went there. So I was at a house party, like when I was 18, the legal drinking age is 18. I was at a house party, and my cousins looked at me and were like, all right, man, are you ready? Well, what do you mean? Well, just keep quiet. Like if anybody comes up to you and says anything, like don't lash out, don't be mouthy, just be cautious and be wary of your surroundings. All right, walk into this party, man, in not even 30 seconds. White boy. I get called white boy right away. I'm the lightest guy there. And I was just like, what is happening right now? I've never been called that in my life. Because I grew up here, right? I've never been called that.
Oh man, I have the exact same story. So my father's actually from Jamaica. He grew up in Kingston too, but he was born in like the mountains of St. Mary's Parish. And I was there with my sister. We were in this village walking around. This 8-year-old boy was showing us around the village, and everyone was staring at us everywhere we went, standing up on the porch looking at us. After a while, we're like, "What's going on? What's wrong? Is everyone upset? Like, why is everyone staring at us?" And the little boy said, "No bother with them. They just never seen white people before."
Yeah, you probably would experience kind of like better
Colorism.
treatment. Yeah, colorism, in the sense of people are going to be like, the lighter your skin is the closer proximity to whiteness in those countries. So you might face racism and be degraded here because of how dark you are. But when you go there, because you're lighter than majority of people, you'll actually get more confident compliments, and people will be like, wow, you look so good, or whatever. Because one thing even in Jamaica people do is bleach their skin. They'll literally put chemicals on their skin to get lighter, and it can be characterized as self-hate, but it also can be characterized as a survival tactic. Like if your livelihood depends on how you look, for instance, like working at a bank, like in Jamaica when I was growing up, Black people, the darker skinned people weren't able to get to work at the front of the bank, right? So, you know, this is a survival tactic, a coping mechanism, because the lighter you are, or the closer you are to whiteness, is the more opportunities that will open up to you. So, and the more beautiful you'll be perceived, so you'll do it to survive. So that's also another kind of legacy, an example of white supremacy and colorism in predominantly Black nations.
Yeah, and it happens in Africa and in Latin America. There's a saying, like mejorar la raza. That means that if you are a Black man, whether you're from Colombia, Dominican, Puerto Rico, Cuban, and you married a white woman or white man, they're telling like you're better in the race because your skin's getting lighter, which is kind of, it's ridiculous and insane to think about that, but that is a thing in different places. So when you grew up and you face all of these and you've been working, you know, this grassroots involved, and you get to Fredericton, and right out the bat you experience the racism in that, or you just have questions as soon as when you get into university? Do you feel like there's you probably see that there's a predominantly white place, and you come as, you know, international student, which that's what they what what was your first encounter? Like you already got, you told us like people telling that you gotta talk black or things like that, but is there any memory of a first encounter that you get that when you get to Fredericton?
I wouldn't say. I feel like a lot of things here, in my experience, a lot of people are nice, but that doesn't mean they can't be racist. It was more of an ignorance thing. I feel like some of the people who said those things to me, they didn't say it in the sense that they were like wanting to offend me, right? But they were just ignorant towards, what those things that they're saying, the impact that it has. And racism is about the impact, not necessarily the intention, because some people might be good intent. Like the person that told me, oh, like I wasn't like you speak so well for a Black person. They didn't say that. They probably said that as a compliment, and I should have taken that as something good, but they didn't realize that saying that, what the underlying message is that Black people are normally not as articulate or normally not as smart. So I am kind of a credit to my race because of how articulate or quote unquote smart I am. So I get those comments, and I won't say that those people, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they didn't intend to offend me or be racist, but it was the ignorance. And that's why throughout my time there, I participated in planning a lot of these events that were geared towards raising awareness and combating ignorance, like letting people know why saying these things are problematic, letting people know, because a lot of people don't even know that there was slavery and segregation right here in New Brunswick. So as a newcomer here, the fact that I spent the time to learn that and learn Indigenous history and colonization and what happened to the racialized people who were here before all the settlers came. And a lot of people wouldn't even know a lot of these things and think I'm lying when I brought those up. So I really spent a lot of time trying to educate people and raising awareness around these issues. But yes, and I won't say there were times, like one night someone came in and they were just saying the N-word, and I was like to me, and I was like, you can't say that. And they were like, well, my friend says I can say it, so I'm going to say it. And just constantly was just repeating it to me. And I was like,
oh, you're getting a slap.
Like, obviously
you're getting a slap.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing too, right? Because I'm new here. I'm Black, and I have no family here, so obviously I'm not gonna wanna get in a fight, and then the police come, and then I get arrested, I get deported, and then I get a criminal record for something like that, right? And that's actually something that racialized people, especially newcomers, face, is that they don't want to talk about the struggles with racism that they're facing because of the backlash that they'll receive. When I first talked in my second year, when I first talked about racism, there was a CBC article that was talking about, international students says there are racial stereotypes still prevalent in New Brunswick. And when I looked at the comments, a lot of them were, well, why don't you leave? Like, we're not as bad as the United States, and like, you're just looking for trouble, etc. And like, it was I'm gonna be honest, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I won't talk about this anymore, because like then I started getting all this backlash, and I'm new here. I don't know who's gonna see me on the road and say something or do something to me, that made me feel unsafe. But that's the thing with a lot of immigrants coming here, is that they're experiencing racism, but they don't want to talk about it because the backlash they'll receive at work, within their community, and people will be like, well, you're ungrateful. Like, we graced you with the opportunity to come and live in Canada, and now you're going to critique it. Like, go back to where you came from then. And this is why one of the reasons why we think this survey is so important is to collect those experiences, and people have a means of having those experiences documented without necessarily being the one to publicly talk about them, so they don't get that public scrutiny that a lot of people just can't handle.
And we'll get to that, but I will tell you this: we get it too. We get it all the time. We get the racist comment on our website and everything that we do, and that's that is a that is a very very that's something that we all go through when you're black, I would say.
And it's crazy that we all go through it in 2020. That's the thing that blows my mind. Is you have decades of
You get it. You get
you
the
have decades of history to tell you what not to do, and that we're talking about this, and we've been talking about it, and we have been, and we're still talking about it now. It's like, this is crazy. This is crazy. You should not have to do these surveys. You shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like BLM, like we shouldn't exist. Like none of us should exist. Like it's just crazy that in 2020 we have to exist, and that we have to literally argue historic facts, which is mind blowing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that blows my mind. Like, why are you arguing with me? This is history. Like, you can't argue history, B.
I mean, I will say this. I will say that it not only is history, but I think what we try to portray is that we're not all the same. You could be a newcomer and you could live here all your life, but you get treated the same just because of the color of your skin. You could be a foreigner, a foreign worker, like just being in Burger King or Harvey's or fast food, or you could be a teacher or an engineer, but you'll get the same treatment probably because of the color of your skin, not necessarily because of the type of education you have. And again, if somebody's white, they get treated differently depending on where they come from, where they sell, or their social circle. So I think that's the thing. Like we as people of color, we understand that, but a regular white person doesn't, right? Because they never felt that information. So I think that's one of the things that we try to clarify. So how did you land on the Multicultural Association? Because is it because of all your work that you've been doing, like your grassroots work?
Yeah, I would never have imagined that I'd be in this job. I was actually supposed to be in law school right now, and then the pandemic happened, but I was still registered, everything. And I've worked with but I've done volunteering with them. I won an award with them, I think last year. And they just reached out and they were interested in me doing some work with them. And then I decided to take a year off and do this work, because this is the first time. I've been here 4 years, and I've been talking about racism, obviously, but you've never gotten this amount of support. You'd get people who are like, yeah, there's a problem, but a lot of people dismissed it, or, only when it was Black History Month, you'd get people concerned and then it would die down. But this was the first time that a lot of people, there was this strong momentum. So I was thinking to myself that should we waste this momentum? Like, we have to use it to make some meaningful changes before people get disinterested again. Because that's how it goes. When a Black person dies, everyone gets like interested, Black Lives Matter, share some stuff. And then 2 weeks after that, it's like back to normal. Nobody wants to do the sustained advocacy. No one wants to do the continued public pressure. When it comes on to campaigns and you're like, we need people to email your MPs and do this, out of the 1 million people that share your Black Lives Matter thing on their social media, which might be important, which might contribute something. But when it comes on to the meaningful work, only 20 of those people are willing to go ahead. But at this point, there was such a strong momentum. I was like, well, this is a good opportunity to actually make some meaningful change. So that's how I ended up accepting the offer. And it's been great working for the council for the past couple months.
So how did the survey come up? Like what made people do the survey, like the idea of it?
Yeah, so it basically came from the fact that there's not a lot of research on racism in New Brunswick. And I think that's a part of the problem why it gets erased so much, is because there's nothing documented really, and it's not investigated. So, people see it as just one unique experience. So if I talk about racism or someone else talks about racism, it's kind of seen as, just this one-off situation, because there's no investment in For instance, provinces like Ontario, who, the police force keeps race-based data to check, if police are racially profiling residents. Here, there's no such thing. Looking at other means of racism in institutions, there's no such thing. So we felt that in order to address the issue, we have to understand, what are the perceptions of racism from both, from white people, like what do they think about racism? Do they think it exists? Do they think that, what type of racism do they think exists? Is it systemic? Is it unconscious bias? Is it intentional, et cetera, et cetera? Is the government doing enough to address racism? So these are just some of the questions that we're asking to both, and we can separate the data to get, the racialized people's responses versus the white people responses to see if there's a gap there. And then we can develop advocacy priorities based on that. We can show the government like, yeah, we've gotten 800 responses and 90% or 80% of these people, I'm just making this up right now, obviously, because the survey is not closed, say that there's racism in this sector, and this amount of people say that the government is not doing enough. So this is what people are proposing, so it's all about just collecting the experiences of racism so it can be documented and people can see that it's not just, this one-off situation, this mentally unstable white person is the one perpetuating racism, and that's just one thing, recognizing that it's a larger problem than what people perceive it to be, and that it's present here, and collecting those experiences of racialized people who are experiencing this but are not confident enough to, which is fair, scared to bring these stories to the public. So it's really about understanding the issue so we can come up with these collective solutions and advocacy.
So who's it targeted for? Like who are the target for the survey? Like who is it supposed to take? Who's supposed to take that survey?
Yeah, so the survey is open to everyone that resides in New Brunswick. So both racialized people and non-racialized people, because we want to get those kind of the qualitative data of the lived experiences, the personal anecdotes of I went to the grocery store and this is what someone said to me, et cetera, et cetera. But we also wanted to capture the perceptions in general, because one of the things we're going to use it to do is create a training, so an anti-oppression training tailored to the New Brunswick context. So we wanted to see where the gap in knowledge is. So if white people are saying that there's no racism, obviously, then that's a big issue. Are people already willing to accept that there is racism? So are a majority of people saying that there is racism? So then that might be that we start at a different step because people are already acknowledging that there's a problem, etc. So it's open to everyone because we want to gain really comprehensive understanding, both from racialized people perspective and non-racialized people's perspective, so we can better advocate for better institutions that serve the interests of all people.
So, I mean, in that context, like you hope to establish a training, but where's this training going to be implemented? Once the survey is done, like where are you guys trying to implement this training and of the results of this?
Yeah, so that's just one thing that we do with the results. When we're going to use the results to tailor or advocacy to government. One of the questions asks, like, would you access if training was available, or if resources were free and available, would you access them? So seeing if there's we're asking, like, do you feel like you have adequate knowledge on race and racism and these issues, et cetera, to see if there's a gap. Would people access free resources? Then if there's a kind of a connection between those questions, then we could say to the government, well, a lot of people want these resources. They don't think enough is being done. And here are some of the recommendations on things that people would like to access to educate themselves. But the training particularly we'll be using, you know, some of the new Brunswick context, because a lot of these trainings that are currently happening, it's kind of tailored to bigger cities, Ontario or you know, other places, but none of them really take into consideration the unique situation that might be here in New Brunswick. So it's really just understanding that, and the data will be used far beyond just trainings. It will inform advocacy. We might create, for instance, a document or a report on some of the key findings and share that with the public. So it's just a foundational piece, because again, there's not a lot of understanding of racism here. And this is just the beginning in doing something to understand the issue.
So if people want to take the survey, where do they go to?
Yeah, so the survey can be found on the New Brunswick Multicultural Council's Facebook and Instagram and Twitter pages. And it's available in both French and English. So folks will be able to access the survey in any of the official languages. And something I forgot to mention earlier is that the training will be giving. So we're creating kind of like an academy where we'll be for member agencies. So we have a lot of other ethnocultural organizations and a lot of other settlement agencies that fall under the umbrella of the New Brunswick Multicultural Council, who are our members. So we'll be empowering them to give the training within their respective communities across the province. So this training will be training individuals from, for instance, Prude in St. John, the Multicultural Association here in Fredericton, the Multicultural Council or association in like all the different regions. We'll be providing them with this training and empowering them to deliver this training within their communities. So we have a broader reach and a larger impact.
That sounds like I really hope that makes some type of difference. I mean, we'll have to wait for the results. I can't wait to see what the results are. So we definitely feel like that this is a start to changing the narrative in this province. I do believe so. Guys, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, man.
I think it's pretty good stuff. So, Husoni, I do want to thank you for being on the podcast. Sorry that I was a little bit late because I think I got the time wrong. So that was my fault. So, if people want to find you, where do they find you?
People can find me on social media. Sometimes I tweet some stuff on Twitter, Husoni Raymond. That's my name in all social media platforms. So if folks want to collaborate on any anti-racism work, that's where I can be reached.
All right, so Husoni, I do want to thank you for being on the podcast. This was a really good information for people. Go check out the survey. Please let us know. We're going to take out the survey too. I think Hillary took it. I haven't done it yet. So we really hope that some outcome can come out of this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I hope that we can use this data and share this data as widely to make an impact. And I will note that, I know I talked a lot about the training, but I will give the disclaimer that I don't think the anti-oppression training will be the be-all, end-all solution to ending systemic racism or Black liberation in general. It's just one means or one step, but that conversation is far, far larger, and it will take a lot of structural and institutional change. But again, this survey is just the first step, and thank you for providing me with the platform to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a start. I think everything, every little thing that everybody does for every field, I think that's the best way. So I think it's gonna be great. So we're gonna talk about the Tiffany Haddish Grammy debacle. So we're going down. So Husoni, thank you so much.
Husoni, thanks for being on the show, man.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Man,
that's exactly what New Brunswick needs right now, and I explained that well. I hope everyone takes it.
I want to say something.
man.
As someone that has born and raised here, man, I very much appreciate the work you're doing. I can't thank you enough. I got to go tell my parents about this. They're going to take the survey. I'm going to tell my the whole family's taking it. Like, I'm telling everybody to take it that I know.
Yeah, we're going to blow it up. Watch those survey numbers. Watch those survey numbers in the next week.
I know. And thank you folks for the work that you're doing. I follow you on social media, and good to keep the momentum going, sharing these experiences and speaking out, because that's a major part. So thank you. And I think with our collective work, we will see some change in the near future. So
we definitely will.
Bless up.
All right, thanks. Okay, guys. So we're going to cut to see, and then we're going to talk about the Tiffany Haddish part. Do you guys read what the Tiffany Haddish thing was?
Well, that's the Grammys not paying her, right? Or not?
Yeah. So
let's just move into some shit.
So we're going to talk about that. So okay. So Tiffany Haddish got offered to host the Grammys, and usually most of these positions, when you host the Oscar, the American Music Awards, or the Emmys or the Grammys, you either get paid or you get all this like cover flight trips, everything gets covered, and you get some types of sponsorship deal. Something happens. Well, Tiffany Haddish got offered nothing. Like, she said, like, can you guys pay for my
fam?
Yeah, so she got offered nothing. So like, she had to pay for her flight, her makeup, everything. And of course she said no. So Twitter went at the Grammys. Like, social media went at the Grammys. Because, it's kind of like, they apologized. The Grammy heads, they didn't. They said that they didn't know that they apologized. But how do you offer a celebrity, especially a black woman, nothing because it's the Grammys? So what's your take on it, guys?
All right. So did they not know that she was part of Girls Trip and Night School, like the two number one movies across the country?
Well, they had to have known she was big, or they wouldn't have invited her. So.
Exactly. That's the thing I don't understand. And it's not like, oh, we're going to let you host this and it's going to elevate your career. Damn, I'm number one. I've been in 2 movies that were number one. What are you talking about?
How often does this happen? You said
never.
Exactly. What's going on?
That's what I mean. It doesn't make sense. Like,
especially in this year, first the weekend drama, Tiffany Haddish. It's like they're trying to amp up their ratings this year by creating even more controversy than usual.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Not only that, if you're talking to me that it's a small award show, like if it's a small award show and they don't have money, because again, these things don't make money, but the Grammys makes money and they have paid people before. And I don't know what was the pitch. It's like, oh, you'll have exposure. Like you're like if you're an unknown band, it's fucking Tiffany Haddish. It's like, I don't need it.
How are you gonna give her exposure, fam? She was, like I said, she was in the number one movie across the country. You don't get to be in the number one movie and no one know who you are.
Netflix specials, Netflix shows.
She has 1 Netflix special.
No, she has 2. She
has
more than one. She has more than one. She has even a cartoon.
Are you guys?
But she's in some other ones, isn't she?
Yeah. She has like a production deal.
Like, didn't she host a show?
I only seen one.
She hosted a whole series, I think.
Yeah, it's called Day Ready.
Day Ready, yeah. So every week she's the host, and she brings out like an amateur stand-up comedian who
are you fucking
she
kidding
thinks
me?
is ready for the big leagues.
No, are you kidding me?
Yeah, so she's big.
That's a show?
Yeah.
Bam, man. That bothers me. That the amount of stand-up that I watch on Netflix using a VPN, the amount of stand-up, you think it would like recommend that shit right away. You fucked up. The algorithm fucked me up, man.
Algorithms don't know you, man. They don't know you.
They don't know you. But anyway, she also has a cartoon she has a cartoon series that she does the voice. My God.
Oh, I'm watching this. Is she on Big Mouth though? Is it Big Mouth?
I don't know.
Oh, is she
I
on
really
Big
don't
Mouth?
know.
The new season just dropped, eh?
So she is on a definitely, but I feel like again, would it be the same if it was Ellen? Hell fucking no.
That's the best. That's the best fucking comparison. Would it be the same?
Yeah, so she's also in this adult cartoon show called Big Mouth, in which she's the star. She's the co-star.
Yeah,
She's a voice actor too. Yeah.
like she's on the new SpongeBob movie. Like Tiffany Haddish is everywhere. Like
yeah, she's everywhere. Okay, yeah.
I feel like there's a level of disrespect. Like, how could you come? It's like, oh, look at our big award show, and because you're a black woman, we don't have to pay you because you get this benefits you. Like, how the fuck does that even make sense?
It's different. It's different if it's an up and coming comic that had like a viral, like one special. It fucking blew up. It was number one for like, not like, well, Andrew Schultz really. If it's like an Andrew Schultz where he drops a comedy album, it goes number one on iTunes and it actually charts on Billboard and it goes on Billboard to number one, then the Grammys are going to bring him on and get him to host because he has nothing else. But Tiffany Haddish has like years of content.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
she's established. She's like they say, like in black comedy, it's literally Kevin Hart and Tiffany. Like they're the two pillars right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think she's like the top.
Right now. She's the top black female comedian. She's the top black female comedian. Period.
Yeah,
no one can touch her, man.
I would agree with that, but we'll end up the show because we got to end it up with a sad thing. Charlie Pride died. He was the first black country superstar.
COVID got him, man.
Yeah. It's he died at 81. I never heard Charlie Pride. I'll be honest with you. Never heard a song.
I heard a couple songs. He's good.
I'm gonna have to ask my mom that. That's a mom. Did you play Charlie Pride? Aunt Marlene, did you play Charlie Pride around me? And they're gonna be like, yes or no.
But his story is pretty. I hope his story gets told because I read somewhere that it's pretty interesting.
It's crazy that he had to. He didn't put a picture with his album out so that radios would play his singles. Yeah, he didn't attach a photo to it. He just put like album art and put his name there, and that was it.
Yeah,
and then it blew up, and then he had to go on TV, and then people found out he was black.
He would be a great movie. He'd be the great topic of one of those movies.
Be a great biopic.
Like the Ray Charles movie.
Yeah, it'd be a great biopic.
Jamie Foxx. Is Jamie Foxx too old to play him? He could do it. He could pull it off.
Look, listen, man. Listen. Al might talk about this, but I'm getting tired of people. I'm going to say this one time. I'm tired of people wanting to have these movies and only casting like 4 black people. They only say like
it's gotta be Jamie Foxx, man.
No, it's not.
It's always Jamie Foxx in those.
No, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It pissed me off that Andre 3000 got to play Hendrix. It pisses me off when I go on Twitter and I see fucking people talking about how Lucas should be playing the Miles Morales in the MCU. No, stop it right now. There are thousands of black actors that are looking for work that could probably act the ass off, especially Marvel. You let Marvel do what they fucking do. They pluck unknown actors and throw them into stardom. They did it with Chris Evans. They did it with Chris Hemsworth. They brought Robert Downey Jr. back from the dead. Fuck. They have Paperboy from Atlanta that is now an Eternal. Donald Glover was rumored to play. Donald Glover was in Homecoming, like as the Prowler. So he could be coming back. We don't know. He could be coming back in the next Spider-Man because they're doing a Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Like let these other, like there's other kids and there's other black actors out there. Like, listen, man. You wouldn't have a Killmonger as Michael B. Jordan if you were casting popular actors, because other people would have gotten that. Other people would have gotten that role. Michael B. Jordan was very underground, very indie flicked, and they've just plucked him up. Chucked Wallace right up in there.
He played.
And
Creed,
hang on.
He played Creed.
Hang on. He played Creed. But he also him and Ryan Coogler had a group, had like a bond because he worked on Fruitvale Nation. He did Fruitvale Nation. He was in that shit. That's one thing that people forget. And that's what I mean. Even Shuri. The girl that plays Shuri is from Well, the girl that played Shuri is from Black Mirror, and Nakia's husband, who rode the bull, that was before Get Out.
I haven't
He's from Get Out.
I haven't seen none of them, but
Dropping
anyways,
some
rest in
knowledge,
peace,
bro.
Charlie Pride.
Oh my God! What do you mean? You haven't watched Black Panther? What do you mean?
Oh yeah,
Of course,
I did.
of course.
I did. Yeah, of course. But
Just that was
Black,
a lot of info.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was like Black Mirror. I'm not quite sure, but rest in peace, Charlie Pride. There is a book about him if you want to read his story. It's called Pride, the story of Charlie Pride. So if you want to read about that book, it's definitely. Hopefully, there's a movie. But before we go, I do want to take a look at that. What you just mentioned of Black Panther. Marvel just announced that they won't recast Black Panther.
Yep.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So in comic book, like, I don't know, as a comic book fan, like the last few days have been like crazy. I should do a separate video on like how much pride I feel specifically with Marvel and the amount of casting and the choosing that they're doing, because the amount of movies they're doing, what they announced for the next feasible 2 years is crazy. We got an Indian coming. We got an Indian coming in. No, sorry, she's Pakistani. We got Kamala Khan coming in. We got Ironheart, which I'm really excited for because that's going to let little black girls know that they can be geniuses. Riri Williams, like, I'm too excited about that. We got Don Cheadle has his own goddamn show. It's about fucking time. Like, how did no one give Don Cheadle a show? This man's been acting forever.
He's had a show, hasn't he?
Forever. No, he has not had like his own.
He has many shows.
The only show I can think of is The Lying One.
House of Lies. Yeah.
House of Lies is the only one I can think of.
He has another one called. He has another one called Black Monday, which is currently airing on Showtime.
Okay, good.
He has to have many shows, so but we'll check that. But anyways, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so what they're gonna do, comic book, like in comic book world, what is next to happen is Black Panther dies. He's now the king of the underworld. It's now Shuri is supposed to take up the mantle.
So okay, so what do you think about that, Clayton?
Because you killed Killmonger because he can't take it.
About Don Cheadle or what I put in the chat group?
No, about what the Black Panther that they're not going to
recast.
I don't understand why. I just heard. I don't know. Why would like? I'd be happy to see him recast, but I understand why maybe some people wouldn't want to see that. This is not an issue I can talk on, other than I'd like to see another Black Panther movie, and I'd be okay with it being the right actor if they could find him. Marcus looks disgusted.
No, I'm not. No, not at all.
Okay, I was going to say maybe you don't agree.
Listen, man.
I'd like to see another Black Panther movie, man.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yep.
I'm okay with it.
I'm kind of bummed because you just eliminated a lot of storylines that you can use.
Yeah, I don't. Did they? What was their reason? I just heard a headline on the news. Like, what was their reason? Why would they do that?
Because they wanted to maintain the legacy of Chadwick Boseman.
Did someone ask them to do that?
But they didn't.
No.
So they didn't do that with Joker at all.
That's weird. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't do that with James Bond or Batman or Superman,
but there was just a gap in time.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
So you have to think of it. If there's going to be a gap in time, Black Panther 2, that's key. That's key to their Phase 5. Like, that's key. That's key to the storytelling. That all the Easter eggs and the hidden gems, and like, I just watched Black Panther the other day because I'm watching all the Marvel movies in chronological order, but like all the hidden things that they talk about and the different plot lines that they started in Black Panther that they need to finish in Black Panther 2, that's going to tie into like all of it. Like, all of it ties in. They have to do it. It's weird that they won't. I understand it, and the gap of time makes no sense. Like you have to wait a gap of time. I saw that as a reasoning, but it makes no sense. Just recast them.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. But anyways, we're gonna end up the show. Please go to blackandthemaritimes.com. We're putting cool stuff out there. Also, thank you for all the donation. We're almost in our goal. We're like $150 or $200 off of our GoFundMe goal.
155.
Yeah, 155. So thank you for the donation. So let's try to finish it. Go to GoFundMe.com/Black in the Maritimes. Buy our merch, please. Buy our merch. Christmas time, please. We're coming up with some mugs and stuff like that. So, and don't forget to go to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify. Subscribe, give us a rating. That helps out the show. So, you guys have anything else to say?
Yeah, check out my band Sonic Detour. We are on all major platforms. We have a YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Black in the Maritimes. We're starting. I'm gonna give it. I'm just spilling the tea right now. Like, we're gonna be putting a bunch of content out in Q1, January. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the bell. Get notified because we're gonna start coming out of nowhere. Boom, 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 boom. Lots of content coming.
Awesome. You guys said it all.
I also gotta be to shout out to Marcus because he froze for like 2 seconds there. I don't know why.
Did I?
Yeah, you froze like for 2 seconds.
I thought that was intentional. I thought the video didn't freeze. I think you were just like
Yeah.
pausing for dramatic effect.
Anyway,
I
man,
can't.
man, I'm just
Connection.
laughing because South Park. If no
I
one
know.
has seen the South Park episode,
Cartman,
it
the
is
virtual
so
school. Oh, it's
good.
hilarious.
It is so good, man.
Yeah.
so
Definitely
check out
watch all
that
those
as well.
shows. All right.
All right, guys. Peace.
Take care.
Peace.